Brian Christopher Koberger and his team want to call in 400 witnesses to the stand. I wonder who they're going to call, because I have some concerns of this whole trial. I don't believe that Mr. Koberger is getting a correct trial right now. That's the reason it is crucial and important for his case to be moved outside the Idaho Moscow court. It's going to be a very unfair trial and a biased trial. People have already labeled Mr. Brian Christopher Koberger to be the person who unlived the 4 victims. The house is demolished. The case wasn't handled properly from the beginning, because I can clearly see so many crucial mistakes that have been made. There were people actually watching the crime scene pictures, for crying out loud. That is not something you can easily miss. The whole grub truck, from the minute Kaylee and Maddie walked in, should have been investigated. There were over 10 people watching crime scene pictures, or figures that look like crime scene pictures. I've heard certain creators talking about figures and making fun of it. That's up to them. People see what they want to see. Some people take their time without being biased to see what doesn't look right there. So it's not about the figures that we should be focused on. We should be focused on how come so many people are watching figures, whether it's the Banfield, whether it's Joe Vito, whether it's a crowd that's yelling out Xana, Xana. Why would he yell out Xana's name if Xana's not present at the place? This doesn't make sense. And I don't mind whichever creator says what about the figures. It really doesn't bother me, because I'm here strictly for the 4 innocent victims. I can see there's a lot of drama going on YouTube with many creators, and I don't want to be involved in it. Because I think the sad thing is this case of the 4 innocent victims has become about creators and their selfish desires to get views and subscribers without even actually thinking that justice is on the line for 4 innocent victims. And that's all I'm going to say about it. And I'm always going to point out any creator who works with the Sigma Chi fraternity boys or with the college students, because this case is still pending. We are YouTube creators. We can decide how we work. We can research our stuff, or we can speculate and mention that we are speculating without going too far. But the fact that this case is become about creators and who is recommending who to watch what doesn't make sense. Last time I knew, all of these countries that we live in are democratic countries. We have the freedom of speech, and we have the right to choose which creator we want to watch with. This is no dictatorship. I watch each and every creator who talks about the Idaho Moscow, whether it's the news or whether it's YouTubers or TikTokers, just to see if there's anything important that we have missed. But never make the case about yourselves. That includes me. We should make this case strictly about those 4 victims. Now, coming back to this case, there were so many people watching different things. There were so many odd movements that were happening, strange behaviors. And I really hope and pray that Brian Christopher Koberger is allowed to bring the 400 witnesses. I would assume DM, BF, maybe the whole of the Sigma fraternity, maybe the 400 people who are going in and out of the grub truck, Banfield. Many people should be included. I won't be surprised. And I'm happy that Mr. Koberger asked for the cell tower activities. I know that the judge and the prosecution is more worried about that he would be building up his alibi along the way of the cell tower, which is completely possible, because I've never said that I believe Brian Christopher Koberger is completely innocent. I personally believe that Koberger is involved somehow or the other. The question is how. He could be just involved by sitting outside, or he could have been called to the crime scene. One of the surviving roommates or someone could have called him there to frame him. It's happened before, nothing new. It'll never make sense for me that one person committed this quadruple murders within 16 minutes. This is a criminologist student. He's not a hitman. We need to get that clear. And even if Brian Christopher Koberger did this by himself, I believe there were many people who were aware of that, and that makes it a federal crime, because they could have warned the police about what was going to happen. If I was Brian Christopher Koberger's defense attorney, which I'm not, I've never been interested in studying law, but I respect lawyers and people who have studied law. My interest was always in psychology and mental health. But if I was the defense attorney, I would have started by this witness. Not KAYLEES, but it is about KAYLEES. When KAYLEE's parents said that KAYLEES was found on the bed, she was stuck in between the bed and the wall, like the bed wall. She was basically trapped in the position she was in. Now, what I find to be very interesting that I've mentioned plenty of times before, when I first saw SAEEDS in the Banfield, watching figures, if you want to call them, or pictures. I would call them pictures because you can clearly see someone with a ski mask. You can see somebody with blonde hair or light hair sitting on the bed in the sitting position that the parents explained. Now, when I found the pictures and I exposed it, or I brought it forward to everyone on YouTube, I remember got a lot of heat. Until today, I get heat from many creators about figures and blurry figures and all. Everyone is entitled to do their own research, with all due respect. I don't criticize others unless you're working with the Sigma boys. I do not criticize anyone. So I expect the same here. Coming back to those figures, you can clearly see that SAEEDS is watching pictures. Somebody sent him the pictures, unless it was a live stream or I don't know what it was. Because let's not forget, if the 4chan is real, it says Zoomers. We don't even know if the Zoomers is Zoom or whatever they were up to. Maybe that's why it took 8 hours for the surviving roommates to call the police. Because this was all pre-planned. They had to rearrange the scene, crime scene, or I don't know what they were up to. But all I know is there was pictures floating around. The boys on the band field, when they were standing near the police officer's car towards the end, all three of them were on their phones, watching it, looking at each other, watching the phone back again. Something was going on there. Saeed was watching his phone too. Now Saeed and Jovito's pictures are clearer to see because they thought they hid the cameras. They didn't. Thank God. Like they say, God works in mysterious ways. When you're up to no good, and when people decide to do such horrific, terrible things to four innocent students, God will find a way to expose you. Hereafter, I guess. Saeed was watching Kaylee, allegedly. I wish Kaylee's parents could see that and ask the police what that was about. I'm surprised that no professional in the detective industry or former detectives have paid attention to what was going on in the Banfield. There's a reason for the last 1 year almost I've been only talking about the 4chan, Banfield, and the grub truck. I always say I wish there was footages of the corner club too, because I believe that's where it all started. The corner club went down to the grub truck, and the people on the Banfield, I personally believe that they did come from that direction. So did the four figures. I personally believe that Kaylee may have wanted us to see those pictures. It came to my attention and I've never looked away from that. I keep on repeating the Banfield so that people pay attention to what Saeed is watching. And I will show you now. But let's listen first to what Kaylee's parents say.
Yeah, I know that's in front of the tower.
Yeah.
This is in front of the University of Idaho Tower.
The family still waiting on a full digital copy of Kaylee's phone from authorities.
These are the last moments of your child's life, and you're sitting here fighting with somebody who just doesn't care.
They were able to collect some of Kaylee's belongings from the university over the summer, which raised concerns for them about how well possible evidence was processed, including a trash can from Kaylee's room that was full and appeared untouched.
We opened it, it was a little squeezy applesauce thing like you would give to like a toddler. Yeah. It did not appear to have been gone through.
Police saying they had gathered more than 100 pieces of physical evidence from the scene, along with some 4,000 photos and 3D scans of the residence. Still, frustration mounting for the family over what they consider a lack of communication and a rush to tear down the home on King Road. Christy describes for the first time how Kaylee was found.
It's my understanding Kaylee was kind of sitting up.
Yes.
And had fought.
Yeah. And the way that room's put together, if you come through that door, you can't get out of that room.
Completely, totally trapped.
Yeah. You're in a bed.
Tiny room. The bed was the entire room. You could barely open up the door without swiping the foot of the bed. And it was wall. You know, the headboard was up against the wall. The side where Kaylee was on was up against the wall. And if you can imagine Kaylee in an upright sort of position, up in the corner, I mean, she was trapped.
You can see that there's 4 pictures there. Look at the picture on Saeed's phone device. Look at the picture to the right, above. You can see someone with blonde hair sitting on the bed. Let me bring it close. And then you can see someone with a mask downstairs. Trigger warning. So in the beginning, when I used to explain and talk about these pictures and analyze these pictures, it was obviously new to all of us, and it was new to me, so I didn't completely understand what I was watching, but I had that feeling it was the crime scene. Because when you look at the timing, the 4 figures running, I knew that these people were not up to any good. Look at the picture downstairs. That is someone with a ski mask. Many people have told me that it looks like a female in the comment channel. All I can see is you can see 2 eyes clearly. That's a ski mask. Downstairs, somebody sitting up on a bed with white sheets above. And there's many other pictures that he keeps on sliding. So if y'all don't believe me, go back to Law and Crime Network, to the original Banfield body cam, because that is the most clearest one you can find, and pay attention. I think they blur it off, since they're saying these boys are minors, which I don't believe they're minors. They're above 18, they're under 20. That doesn't make them minors, but it makes them minors for the legal age of, I think, liquor drinking or whatever. Drinking liquor, sorry. So basically what I'm trying to say is these 4 gentlemen should be one of the 400 people BK calls. I hope so. I hope BK calls the whole of the grub truck from the minute the girls entered until the crowd was yelling Xana. I hope Joe Vito is one of the 400 witnesses. But somebody needs to answer what side is watching here. This one that I'm showing y'all is from JLR. You can see that. Like, share, and subscribe to him. Because JLR has one of the body cams that wasn't blurred out from the beginning. Many things are being taken off social media and the mainstream media. I don't know for what reason. I believe they want it gone. How come this wasn't investigated before it was put out to the public?
For the first time, how Kaylee was found.
It's my understanding Kaylee was kind of sitting up
Yes.
and had fought.
Yeah. And the way that room's put together, if you come through that door, you can't get out of that room.
Completely, totally trapped.
Yeah. You're in a bed.
Tiny room. The bed was the entire room. You can barely open up the door without swiping the foot of the bed. And it was wall. You know, the headboard was up against the wall. The side where Kaylee was on was up against the wall. And if you can imagine Kaylee in an upright sort of position.
Christy and Steve, Kaylee's parents, said that they got back Kaylee is garbage or the rubbish bin completely full. What was that about? Was the crime scene checked thoroughly? Whatever was in the bin could have had the fingerprints of the person who did these horrific quadruples. When have you ever seen items being returned to the parents so quickly when it's a quadruple murder? Murders. This doesn't make sense. But what Kaylee and Steve said of the position Kaylee was sitting was exactly the position I personally believe that was on the phone device of what SAEED was watching. So if I was Kaylee's parents, I would have inquired about that. It just can't be a coincidence that I first saw figures like that, somebody sitting on a bed a year ago, and then 10 months later, thank God, KAYLEES' mother and father confirmed what I saw. Please let me know what you'll think about this. Please like, share, and subscribe. May the correct justice be served for the 4 precious victims. Condolence to the families. Have a lovely night.